Earlier in January, there were news reports of a Western Suburbs institution in Melbourne shutting up shop for good. Foodstar in Sunshine was a veteran buffet restaurant in the Sunshine Marketplace shopping centre, which, if you come from the West, will always be the home of the so-called Millennium Man, a fucking massive chrome Atlassian dude out the front. They got rid of the Millennium Man around 5 years ago now in his strictly material form. He continues, I would say, to manifest in the car park through the sheer force of our combined belief, as long as we all continue to remember him like a dying pagan god. It's my understanding that Vicinity, the name of the corporation that owns the shopping centre, are entertaining longer-term ideas of a renovation, while also planning to, I suppose, resituate the class aspirations of their retail precinct. It's probably harder to bring in the richies with the big fuck-off 90s robot mega hero stinking up your frontage.
Millennium Man's time is up. After a couple of decades out in the open at the Sunshine Marketplace shopping centre, the elements have taken their toll and he's set to be removed.
I loved him from the day he went up.
Bit of a local character. Structurally is what I'm interested in.
I was originally wasn't a fan. I wasn't originally convinced that he was of value, but over time, I think I kind of got to really appreciate and understand him.
Despite his imposing stature and powerful title, Millennium Man won't be seeing in another millennium.
The reason that Foodstar's closure hit the news was not because of Western Suburbs nostalgia, but because of a very strange farewell message that Foodstar's management posted on their site and their socials when they abruptly closed early in Jan. What they said was, Australia has become corrupted by a corrosive mix of nihilism and embraced a radical liberal ideology that celebrates the rejection of anything from the past that could stabilise society, including any inheritance of previous forms of culture. You just have to look at the abuse thrown towards our staff in the past few years to realise this. What is old is no longer deemed necessary, and indeed something that must be replaced. We had no choice but to close. It is very odd and unsettling to read a Western Suburbs restaurant post a bitter farewell screed that comes across at first light reading as a little bit culture warsy. So then we had articles like this come out from news.com.au. The closure comes after the 3.2-star restaurant received a slew of negative Google reviews, many of which slam the business's alleged poor hygiene and subpar meals. Not a lot of food options, barely any food in the containers anyway. Food is not that good. Sanitary is so bad, I saw a plate with green spots, which is probably soap. Waitress is nice though, one review posted just 2 weeks ago reads. Daily Mail also jumped in with a similar sort of scraping of relevant social media responses and Google reviews. As these articles demonstrate, there is more novelty to be found here if you're happy to go and dig a little bit. You will have a grand old time going through Foodstar's Google reviews. So let's have a look at some of the bad reviews of Foodstar and the owner's responses. You'll probably recall this review from a moment ago. It was quoted in the news.com.au article. Let's have a look at the response from the owner. The only buffets left in Australia with nice food options are all located in gambling venues such as casinos, RSLs, clubs and hotels with a gaming licence. They don't have to pay any rent because they're there to attract and induce customers to lose their life savings gambling at the pokie machines stationed next to the buffets. Other options like K-barbecue buffets are all above our price range and start at $50 to $90. I say this because if you were hungry, you would have paid $25 to $35 today and got fed. Obviously, you were here to take photos and do a running commentary of the restaurant, which is not the type of customer that we are tailored towards. Now, it's very prickly and defensive, but I don't know about you. I listen to this and I agree. And I think politically and sort of socio-politically, I agree and I find myself liking him more. I regret to inform you that my experience at Foodstar Buffet was overwhelmingly disappointing. The food quality was abysmal, leaving a tasteless and unpalatable impression on my palate. Not only was the food lacking in flavour, but it also seemed to be of the lowest possible quality, reminiscent of cafeteria fare from decades past. To add insult to injury, the state of the bathroom facilities was utterly appalling. The cleanliness left much to be desired, with unidentifiable stains and unpleasant odours pervading the atmosphere. It was an experience that left me feeling not only unsatisfied, we don't cook for people with refined palates. That isn't our main customer base. We're the go-to destination for people with a more primal instinct of getting a full stomach after a game of rugby, rather than some sort of sensory experience. We've never advertised ourselves, and I reply to most reviews for this reason: to discourage people from attending our premise with any such expectation, as we don't want to waste your time and ours. The toilets are originally part of the shopping centre complex, and it's not part of our tenancy. We don't own them. We've asked the centre management to upgrade them, to no avail. There is a subset of people on this planet who think that anything that costs more than $25 is a rip-off or a scam, and has no consideration for the cost of ingredients, labour and leases. If you think we are a rip-off, then the most you've lost is $35. There are many places far more expensive which are also rip-offs. You are free to see whether they are any better. Got food poisoning! So much MSG in the food! Absolutely disgusting food! Walls were filthy, kitchen was filthy from what I could see, dirty and appalling. Online reviews have indeed become a cottage industry of woke Karens, leaving fake bad reviews and then using third-party websites and scam emails to my inbox, asking for thousands of dollars from honest, hard-working small businesses to get them removed. How's the review business, darling? Hopefully Elon Musk will kill off the scam reviews. One of the worst places to go, waste of money, food is absolutely terrible. Don't even understand how you can make food that bad. Place is dirty, stuff useless in every way. Do not go. It's nice when you can immediately tell that someone has never interacted with, spoken to, or been around is trying to troll your business on Google reviews. You didn't say anything whilst you were here. No one knows who you are. Maybe some communication is appropriate. We also speak English. The problem with serving food to people like you is that you like to complain about everything that's wrong with the food, because you don't come to a restaurant to eat when you're hungry. You are already too full of yourself and some idealised fantasy meal inside your version of the world. This is a fucking doozy. Do not go here! Went to go have a nice dinner, but it was definitely not nice. It started off when the guy at the front was a bit rude, but thought maybe he was in a bit of a hurry, so let it go. When we walked into the dining area, it was a bit dirty, which should have been cleaned as they had just opened, but ignored it, which should have been the first warning sign. Went up to get some food. The fried rice was burnt, and the other stuff wasn't very nice, so we left it, and we went up to try some other stuff, grabbed some chicken, and then went to sit down at the table. When I cut it open, the chicken smelt really bad, and it was off, which was the last straw, and it put me off my dinner. I went up to the counter to talk to the guy, and he got defensive straight away, yelling at us to leave, and he didn't care, and that we'd eaten 5 plates of food, and we were full, so that's why we wanted a refund, and he had it on camera. So we said, well, show us then, as we didn't eat 5 plates of food. Another one of the employees said they would refund one person, and we said that was fine. But then when he went to give us the other guy was pushing him away and manhandling him, which was a bit odd, saying stuff like, these white people, and he knew what kind of people we were. But that was the first time we'd ever been in here. We ended up getting a refund for one person only because the other employee, I'm guessing the owner, met us around the back and gave us some cash. I highly recommend not going here unless you want bad food and food poisoning. We'll never be going here again, and I'll be telling family and friends to steer clear. I will be ringing the health department on this place. You clearly knew what was on offer and our service levels, because you began with saying I read all the trash Google reviews and we know you're a bad, disgusting restaurant, before going on a spiel about how the food was awful. This whole experience wasn't an exercise in trying a new restaurant, but one where you came in, ate until you were semi-full after 5 plates, and then wanted to leave to get a refund. Anyway, you get to call the health department and fulfill what you see as your civic duty to close down a restaurant that's been operating just fine since 1998 because satay chicken is beyond your taste buds. If I went to a bar and bought a white girl a drink and then she says, sorry, you're not my type, I don't expect to get a refund on the cost of the drink. That's a risk I take. There is a certain level of social snobbishness and entitlement for white girls to go into Asian restaurants expecting to taste test 5 plates of food and then expect a refund in the price of entry. You clearly have an obnoxious view of your place in society. You got your refund, you got your win, but one day you'll fail and there'll be no one to help you because you try to take advantage of every single situation and twist every single event to your narrative. He's not doing himself any favours, yeah? But you gotta admire his dash, you know? He doesn't leave anything unsaid. He leaves it all in the ring, you know? None of this entertainment will help any blow-ins understand that Foodstar in Sunshine really was a genuine institution for people in the West. It was an institution in bad buffet food, no doubt, but an institution no less.
We're here at the famous Foodstar. Some people will be thinking, why are you going to Foodstar? Why not? You know, this is the entry level of all the
all you can eat
buffets. If you know, this is Sunshine. It's famous to a lot of places, Vietnamese places, pork roll places, and we're going to see if Foodstar's on that list.
Why does that look scary?
What look scary? It does not look scary.
Memories of that bad buffet food are woven into my childhood and the childhood of many western suburbs people around me. One dear old mate of mine, for example, also of the West, reminisced about the conflicting nostalgia and squeamishness that passing by Foodstar would invoke.
What's ironic is while he said that it's about the food and it's not a sensory experience, I found it almost entirely a sensory experience. I mean, the place looks like the Golden Girls' living room. The aesthetic is incredible. So it was entirely a sensory experience, to the extent that I can't remember the food. I wasn't going there for the food. I was going there because I wanted to participate in whatever the fuck goes on in there. They had interior windows that went all the way into Sunshine Plaza, so when you're walking into the plaza, you could look into Foodstar, and it was mesmerizing to me. And it is a landmark. It is a cultural icon.
Right now at Sizzler, we're serving great value meals for just $8.95, like tender, juicy steak with tasty peppercorn sauce.
I'll work on that.
Golden crumbed calamari and succulent shrimp combination.
Now, I happen to be working on another video at the moment that touches on, among other things, the death of the Sizzler buffet chain in Australia a couple of years back. So I know offhand that the death of a buffet like Foodstar isn't just about the poor performance of the place itself, but also about changing demographics and changing preferences in dining. I guess we've all heard of buffet food poisoning. The rat poison in the salad bar, that's a Sizzler thing, and random kids fingering the chocolate mousse. And those memories die hard, sure, but also people simply want different things out of their dining experiences nowadays, and they're willing to pay for it if they're going to head out at all. And importantly, the people that exist in a place like Sunshine, along with their average income and demographic, has been slowly changing over the years as well.
So the receipt here, just like the character on the building.
So that's what you paid?
$138.
$33.90 for adults, $14.80 for 3 to 5 year olds, and $19.80 for 6 to 10 year olds. So there's two different prices for.
I said I'm a western suburbs of Melbourne kid at heart. I always have been, and even if I am in Queensland right now, I always will be at heart. I grew up in Melton before spending most of my young adulthood living somewhere in or around Footscray, up the road. I resided in West Footscray over a period that I like to call the Wefo-fication of that area. So I witnessed firsthand the same kind of process that had already occurred in Yarraville and Seddon some several years before it.
I'm walking down the street in West Footscray. Wefo, we call it. Oh, g'day. Hi, Sue. How you going? Oh, hi, Karen. Oh, Kat. This isn't working, I've just got to say. Too many friendly people, it's a typical day.
Cafe latte, cafe latte.
We've got the best coffee in town.
Pressure.
Us mums, we come from all around.
Pressure.
Sorry about that. I call it Wefo-fication because it was a period when a lot of young, upwardly mobile and relatively affluent people were moving in from the eastern and northern suburbs into an area that only some years before they'd have avoided like the plague, having decided that they'd found an oasis of un-Western suburban potential which could be converted by them and their ilk into an idyllic neighbourhood with a few touch-ups. So over time you began to see the gradual appearance of free street libraries carved into cute trees, little fairy gardens dotting the bases of the trees along the streets, pop-up parks, children selling lemonade in cute ramshackle stalls here and there, or little honeypots for sale in honesty stalls situated outside cute homes. Specifically in West Footscray, a Facebook group grew in tribute to Wefo, as it came to be called. The group is called Wefolk. There you could talk about garage sales, help your neighbours find their lost cat, trade produce, and warn everyone about all the crime. A lot of it is just cute and twee, so it might be uncharitable if I tell you that all of this is giving, you know, well-meaning, upwardly mobile centre-left Lebensraum a bit. But when you see the way they react about crime and such, then you start to get a bit dubious about it all, you know? Like it ain't all just street libraries. I've kind of seen it all happen in Yarraville anyway. I remember sitting on Anderson Street in the 2000s and overhearing a white woman nudging this massive octo-pram back and forth, gushing about, and I'll never forget these words, "Oh, we love it here in the New West," which was the term for it at the time. It's kind of like a coverall Wefo-style term for any area in the West worth colonising. And I distinctly recall experiencing an actual wave of physical nausea because of hearing it. Please consider this follow-up message on the blog of Foodstar from its owner in the wake of the aforementioned news coverage. We were recently featured in a news.com.au article which unfortunately focused heavily on online reviews that don't fully represent the support we've received from many of our loyal customers. The negative reviews and abuse we can mostly attribute to liberal white women who like to use Google reviews to name and shame businesses that don't align with their ideology. To our amazing Pacific Islander, Burmese, Asian and other communities who've supported us week after week, thank you. Your loyalty and encouragement have always meant the world to us. Serving you has been an absolute privilege, and we hope to continue this connection wherever our journey takes us next. Both the LNP and the ALP share a similar liberal economic ideology, resulting in nearly identical economic policies. They consistently prioritise landlords over small business operators. This alignment is why one is often referred to as liberal light, and both are commonly labelled as centrists. Again, I feel this irresistible pull. Once I'm checking under the hood of this guy's apparent politics, I'm finding I'm liking them more and more than I thought I would at first.
Foodstar's really, I don't know, we haven't been there for like years. I don't know what people were talking about in the comments, mate. Fuck. If you're Islander, mate, and you like fucking meat and that, I don't know.
I haven't had this much meat selection in the last year.
I asked an old mate who grew up in and around the Sunshine area who has fond memories of Foodstar, what he recalls of going there. And going by what he said, a lot of what the owner of Foodstar says about the clientele and that kind of thing checks out.
On Sundays there was a big crowd who would come and smash a proper meal after church. The churchgoers were all Pacific Islanders. I can't believe that's true for 20 years. That's amazing, like to be such a stable part of a community. I used to pile on the mussels. They always had heaps cause no one else would touch them. No one ever touched any of the seafood. I don't think I ever got sick. I was a uni student and they were a reasonably priced smorgasbord. Back then there was, like, Sizzler and stuff, so they were pretty normal. These days there are none. I guess there's kind of no market for smorgasbords or they have to cut corners to survive. I suppose that's kind of a rejection of the past, possibly even of things that stabilize a society.
These guys are just surprising us, right?
Yeah, I think if they just gave their shop like a bit of a
redo, a makeover.
Like Foodstar, if you're watching this, which I think you will because we're the best series of A's out there right now.
Relax.
Just change the color from pink, maybe make it a bit red.
Don't worry about the colour. Just some cleanliness, please.
You can't blame people for wanting nice things for their young, upwardly mobile family. But if you've seen the way a place used to be and you're watching it change, you just inevitably sneer at it a bit. I can't help it, and neither can my mate, the one who reminisced about Foodstar earlier. Because they live in Sunshine, and like me actually, they also grew up in Melbourne. They report that Wefo-fication is now happening in Sunshine as well. I had hoped it was too early for all that, but then again, I know that Sunshine's house prices have risen significantly over the past few years. My friend reports experiencing a confusing mix of feelings when, say, for example, a cute free street library hewn into a tree gets destroyed by the old school Darrow locals who can't yet be crowbarred out of the new West neighbourhood. Sure, my mate feels sad, libraries are nice, who can hate a library? But they also experience a kind of unearthly delight that the Wefo-fication of Sunshine has been thwarted by someone who isn't quite socio-economically on board.
Like, they want their kids to sell lemonade at the front of the houses. And for the community to come around and buy cordial from their kids, fine. But then they get mad because A, no one comes and B, someone sparked up a crack pipe within vision of their children. Look, at this point, in this transition between whatever Sunshine has been and whatever it's about to be, the conflict, the dissonance, it's very fucking enjoyable in some ways. I really like how mad everyone gets about the fact that they moved to Sunshine, and they paid a fucking fortune in fairness to them, and it's still fucking Sunshine. You've got to love it.
When I'm a bit more patient with the material I'm looking at here and the things I'm actually hearing, and I don't react with my immediate dailymail/news.com.au hat on. If I listen to it with my old working class western suburbs hat on, I don't know if I'm hearing the owner articulating culture wars style Elon Musk red-pilled shit anymore. I think it might sound like that to some, and I think we're on guard for it because we always hear people articulating politics like that. But I think what I'm actually listening to is a pissed off small business owner trying in a weird and sometimes, combative way to articulate good old-fashioned class politics. I looked on his TikTok as it happens, and I saw he likes a bunch of pro-Palestine stuff, and I'm like, wow, look, to be honest with me, this is one of the main barometers for whether you have decent politics as regards, average working class people or not. So I thought, why don't I reach out to him? So I did, and he responded to me. Now, I can't share all of our discussion because he asked me not to. Well, he said he can't publicly comment on YouTube due to various active matters he's pursuing in the wake of Foodstar's closure. And I'm going to honour that because I don't want to fuck with him. He's not my enemy at all. But I did open up by asking him about what he saw as the changing demographics of the West and how they had affected Foodstar. Here's what he wrote back.
The two pivotal moments for over the past 25 plus years for us was the closure of Toyota in the western suburbs that led to structural economic downturn in the wealth of the people, which caused many of our long-term customers to stop eating out. And also the takeover of Centro Properties, the original owner of the Sunshine Marketplace, by Vicinity Centres, which is headquartered in Chadstone. Before the closure of Toyota, we were doing good, averaging $30,000 in takings per week, but afterwards we dropped to $20,000 per week.
My dad used to work in the paint area of that shuttered Toyota plant in Altona, so I asked him about Foodstar, do you remember it? And his answer is no. He also wondered why a sunshine buffet would mean so much to workers in an Altona plant. But then again, Dad's not an Islander or Vietnamese though, is he? Stephen's stated core demographic, and Dad does remember that Islanders and, Southeast Asians and such made up a huge part of the workforce there. So maybe it all checks out.
After we couldn't pick up takings by attracting new customers, in 2013, Vicinity Centres decided they were going to redevelop our tenancy and gave us a series of short-term leases of between 1.5 to 3 years. So since 2013, we couldn't really do anything about the decor or fixing up the place, because they basically said they wanted us to go. Vicinity ended up going through several different designs and multiple redevelopment ideas, which kept on changing, and didn't make up their mind for over 7 years. Until COVID put all redevelopment plans on hold.
Mind you, and in the interest of balance, okay, so if anyone knows about an economic downturn in the West, it's probably Stephen looking at his monthly income go down, as he said, by 10k, if his recollection of those numbers can be believed. But I did wonder for a moment if mentioning the closure of Toyota Altona is sort of reaching for a localised equivalent of a Detroit Rust Belt sob story for someone who consumes a lot of US media. I don't know. I don't want to be uncharitable. That thought went through my head. And also, to be fair, I scroll through these reviews of Foodstar, and it ain't all liberal white women, white Karens, In fact, to be honest, it's kind of like the United Colours of Benetton of pissed off and, if they can be believed, food-poisoned people. For every white PMS Karen, there appears to be 5 Indian, Islander and Asian names in there, all raging about their experience. So I don't know, man. Maybe people's tastes got too hoity-toity across the racial continuum, Maybe we're all too fancy. Maybe the entire United Nations is too fancy for buffets now. Maybe the class politics of the West are undergoing radical economic upheaval in a way that caters for upwardly mobile, anti-buffet snobs from all races, classes, colours and creeds. Maybe it's bad business to attack people for their reviews and become notorious for bad reviews in the process. Maybe, just maybe, people don't like to be food poisoned, no matter where they come from.
Yeah, what do you give it? I rated the other one. You can rate this one.
I'll give this one. This is hard. I feel like it's like between 6 and 7.
Yeah, 6.5.
Yeah.
I'll go with that out of a 10.
If it was clean, it'll definitely be like an 8.
Yeah, if you're coming from New Zealand, then this is like way better than anything that you have in New Zealand. But
the chicken levels that we're coming for.
Yeah.
But as we've already discussed, everything checks out regarding the economic shift in the West itself, this economic decline for its locals, if Stephen's account can be believed, and an economic glow-up with the influx of new West, Wefo-style, upwardly mobiles. And then, in addition to that, or in parallel, Stephen's alluding to this big company from Chadstone that took over Sunshine Marketplace and wants to scale up the shopping centre to cater to a new demographic. So it is funny to think that the phenomena that killed Foodstar directly intersects with the changes that killed the Millennium Man, isn't it? Rich Wefo cunts and the companies that desire to appease them. I have to say, one thing that's made me really a bit miserable here is looking back to my initial reaction, admittedly guided by, pond life at Daily Mail and news.com.au, but thinking that, I thought this guy was doing some culture wars material initially. Maybe the reading the words Elon Musk sent me there. But It makes me wonder if the linguistic toolset of the working class and even small business owners like Stephen is so co-opted by this current right-wing and alt-right wave that you can't even articulate nascent class consciousness and class politics without coming off like your red pill. Stephen wanted to talk about demographic shift and gentrification, but somehow he immediately came off to me, the person in the world who's most happy to talk about that stuff, like I thought he was an Elon stand for a minute. I just think it's an indictment of how bad our political media climate is, if anything. It's really depressing. Most of all, I just think it's really fucking sad that the West loses a Foodstar and gains a fucking, I don't know, a moondog Wild West. Like it or not, food poisoning, real or imagined, I know that place fed people, working class people, for fuck all. And I know that counts for something in the West. I know it does. So I hope that crime stays up around Sunshine. I really do. Not because I want randoms to be hurt or because I have an agenda against little fairy doors tucked into the bases of trees along leafy suburban streets, but just because I like the idea in a little part of my soul that these vultures might stay on their toes a bit, remain a bit scared. Like, even if they can't resist moving in, to set up a free community plant library with their kids, serving up free community kombucha lemonade on Saturday mornings. And I know they can't resist doing that. I can at least entertain my cynicism by watching them rage on in their Facebook community groups. Meanwhile, the Foodstar that lives in our memory and imagination, those of us who are truly of the West and aren't fucking blow-ins, will continue to manifest spiritually at the entrance of Sunshine Marketplace, another dying pagan god to accompany the Millennium Man. Another fading old western suburbs deity to haunt the upwardly mobile in their sleep.